Hello and welcome. This afternoon we're going to spend a little bit of time getting familiar with working with the Linux command line. Currently I'm logged into my Mac system, but I've SSH'd into Backtrack because the font gets sufficiently large enough so I can demonstrate what actually is going on. So if you're new to Linux, welcome. This is an introductory level, just kind of getting used to some of the commands that we will be using quite a bit in quite a few of my classes. If you've been using Linux for quite a while, hopefully I can show you something a little bit new. It's always good for a good refresher. But this is generally some basic Linux commands that you would need to get to know and love if you're going to use the Linux operating system. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to figure out where we are at. We're going to do print working directory, or PWD. Print working directory shows us exactly where we're at. If I were to move into a different directory, like etc, and then do pwd, I go to and then it says I'm in etc x11. So it always shows me where my current home is, where it is that, not my home directory, but the current directory that I'm logged into. This is very useful. The other thing you might be interested in is what exactly is in that directory. In this situation, I run the ls command, which is going to list the contents of this particular directory I am in. Now, Linux is nice enough in a lot of distributions to actually color code different things with different colors. In this scenario, blue is directories and the black ones are files. I'd like to get a little bit more information about what's going on. I can do ls-lrt, and it's going to give me a little bit more information about the directory that I'm currently in. This is nifty because now I can see the ownership of the files on the far left. Is it a directory? Is it readable? Is it writable? The X actually stands for executable, and it goes by the owner, the group, and then everyone. And as you can see, the owner of all these files is root, and the date that they were actually created, and then the files themselves. Interestingly enough, in the middle, you got 649, 95, 22, 52. That's the size of the files. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to do some very basic navigations of how we move around in directory structures. So if I do pwd, I'm currently in the etc x11, or my windowing, that's where that drives the Windows environment. In this situation, it's KDE. So I do cd ... and I want you to notice that my directory has changed. I went one directory down. If I do ls-lrta, one of the things I want you guys to notice is that there's always at least two directories within every directory you're in. So in this situation, if you look, you're going to see that there's going to be a dot directory and then a dot directory. And there's a whole bunch of other junk that's going on in here. So there's the dot directory right underneath Kismet. And then there's the dot directory. Dot is the parent directory, and just single dot is the current directory itself. So let's see what else we got in store for you guys today. The other thing that you might want to do is you might get into a situation where you would like to know what processes are currently running. Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can do ps, it'll show you the processes that are currently associated with you. You can also do ps-aux to show you all the processes sorted by user, even the ones that are teletype terminals. That's a lot of information. It kind of flew off the screen. What we can do is we can use the wonderful feature in Linux. It's also available on a lot of Windows distributions called pipe. And we're going to pipe it through less. And it's going to make it manageable so I can go up and down through all the processes that are running. Now, if you look across the top, it tells us different information. Which user, what's the process ID, CPU utilization, mem, virtual memory, TTY, statistics, all kinds of really cool stuff. But you may be in a situation where you want a little bit more, or something that's more up-to-date, rather. In this scenario, we have a lot of data, a whole bunch of processes went flying across the screen, and if we want to quit that, we hit Q, and it pops us right back out. Now, a simplified kind of task manager view is the top command. Top dynamically updates itself, and it gives you a current heads up on what exactly is going on in the system. Process IDs, the users, the virtual memory usage, CPU utilization, memory usage, and then the command that was actually utilized. So that's pretty cool as well. Also hit Q, it pops you right back out. Now you may be in a situation where you'd like to know which ports are currently open on your system. There's a couple of ways to do this. We can do netstat minus NA, or AN, and it'll show us all the ports that are open. Once again, if it's a lot of data, you can pipe it through less, and then it's usable. So if you go all the way up to the top, you will notice that we have 6,000 open on this particular system. That's my X11 session. 22 is SSH. Now there's another way that you can do this, LSOF I, which will list the open files associated with current ports. I've got boot PC, which of course got me my IP address, Internet Printing Protocol from CUPS, X11 session is currently running, and then SSH as well. And I can also see active connections to the system. As you can see, my Mac system 192.168.123.1 is currently connected to the system. Now, I might want to drill in and see exactly what is being used by that particular process. In that situation, it's the last one, 4874. I can replace the I with the P for process ID, and I can put in 4874, and it'll list the open files that are associated with that specific process. Once again, I can pipe that through less to get a better idea of what's going on, move up and down. This is really cool. It'll show you the command on the left side, the process ID, the user, and then like the directory. What type of file is it? Its current working directory in this situation is the root or the top level directory. The root directory, once again, is the top level directory. Current working directory is actually sitting within the root level or top level directory. And then you can see different files that are used, like the command that was invoked, SSHD, thinks it's a text file, memory usage allocated to it. If I scroll down, you'll actually see the TCP IP ports that are open. In this situation, we also see IPv6 open as well. So really, really incredibly cool stuff associated with this. Also in the middle, if you guys look around right here, you can see the various libraries that SSH utilizes on a Linux system to actually run SSH. So there's a lot of fun stuff that you can learn. If you ever get lost or you'd like to learn more about what's going on, never hesitate to use the man pages. Man is built-in manual for the Linux system. Man LSOF will open up the user manual for the LSO or LSF or list open files command. So if you ever get lost and you see those wonderful Linux people that say read the fine manual, usually RTFM or some other instantiation of that, they're telling you to actually read the man pages or the user manual that is built into almost every command of the Linux distribution that you're using. It's not exhaustive, but hopefully it gets you to the point where you're at least moving around and getting comfortable with using